Greetings, my friends. I want to thank you all for subscribing. I want to thank all of my channel members for supporting me in this endeavor to save pop culture. And if you are not subscribed, please consider supporting this channel. We need you. Thank you. Greetings, my friends. I am Dictor Van Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, and I bring you some news smuggled out from behind the magic curtain, with new allegations regarding why Bob Chapek got axed by the Disney board and how that event was related to Nelson Peltz's Bring Back the Magic movement to return sanity to Disney, a movement that appears to have failed for the moment, although the impact of the movement appears to have had a significant impact on Iger and the Disney board. In short, there's been a war going on behind the scenes at Disney, a war that has settled down into an uneasy peace, but could flare up again at any time.
So the impact you're talking about, are you referring to the 7,000 laid-off employees and the $5.5 billion in cuts that Iger announced at the investor call? 'Cause yeah, man, that's a pretty big impact.
I am Harvey, but let's back up to January 30th, when I received a report from my Hollywood spies. At this point, I must state that the information I'm about to share with you is information provided to me by sources who contacted my Hollywood spies. But since I cannot personally verify this information, I'm presenting it as unverified rumor, and I ask you to please take it with a grain of salt. Now, the struggle of Trian Fund Management LP to secure founder Nelson Peltz a seat on the Disney board is well documented, but this pressure had an interesting effect behind the scenes, if my sources are correct, and may have contributed to Bob Chapek's unceremonial ejection from his CEO position at Disney, largely because Chapek was working against the interests of the woke elements inside Disney, and particularly Blackrock. This is what my spies told me on January 30th, quote, "We have been following a lead for some time now, and we believe we have enough to bring it to you. We also believe it not only confirms much of what we have told you, but makes our case even stronger. There is a war at Disney, full stop. The war is Bob Iger and Blackrock and Vanguard on one side, and the other side is Nelson Peltz, a new player who seems to be more conservative and has been in the background and could possibly be the reason Bob Chapek was put in as CEO in the first place. The fight is nothing less than for Disney itself," unquote.
Are they saying that Peltz was an ally of Chapek all along?
They've heard rumblings of this, O Skull of Calderon, but they've not uncovered anything definitive regarding Peltz and Chapek's appointment as CEO. However, the events that unfolded from summer through fall of 2022 seem to strongly suggest that Nelson Peltz was an ally of Bob Chapek's in attempting to bring change and profitability back to Disney. Now, all of this tumult started back in the summer of 2022 when Peltz began making his move to get on the board. According to the LA Times, quote, "Regulatory filings released Thursday reveal details of how Peltz's overtures to executives and the board escalated since they began last summer, coming to a head when he was offered an olive branch role as an advisor and observer, but not as a voting member. His New York-based investment firm Trian Partners has nominated him for a board seat against Disney's wishes. They want my input on operations, but they don't want my input on corporate governance," Peltz, 80, said in an interview with CNBC. "That's why they don't want me to have a vote," unquote. Well, according to at least one source, there was a stalemate on the board between those who welcomed Peltz's call to bring back the magic and those aligned with the woke factions that seem to care little for profit or are simply too intimidated to back significant change at Disney.
Intimidated? And who, may I ask, has the juice to intimidate rich and powerful members of the Disney board? That seems strange to me and rather alarming if true.
As my Hollywood spies put it, quote, "The stalemate is the board members that are too scared to make a decision. What are they scared of, one may ask? To put it bluntly, Blackrock. The board members are millionaires and don't want to, how would you say it, rock the boat. They also don't want to pick a fight with Blackrock. I bet you're asking, how do we have this information? Well, we are in contact with an individual that has insider information, and for now that's all we can say. There's a whole lot more we have to cover, including the real reason Bob Chapek was fired and FTX. We are still working on this. We feel this is very accurate, and it only gets worse. Unquote.
Damn, this Blackrock shit is really out of hand. Seems to me like they're bankrolling wokeness in Hollywood, and the reason why these studios can keep losing their shirts with failed woke project after failed woke project, favoring message over profit, is because investor funds like BlackRock and Vanguard prop them up and help them cover their losses. I'm no financial wizard, but I mean, what other explanation can there be that these Hollywood studios keep making woke crap, keep losing money, and keep on keeping on?
A great question, Harvey. I've heard a lot about how these ESG companies care more about propaganda than profits, and I imagine their support of these studios empowers them to keep denying reality. But for how long can this go on? The next message my Hollywood spies sent me arrived on February 1st. Quote, "Before I get started, this information comes from a source that claims to be close to the subject. We took our time with this to ensure this information is as accurately detailed as possible. There was a grand plan at Disney. Bob Chapek was trying to out the woke at Disney with Susan Arnold and Nelson Peltz. The plan was to slowly allow the woke in Marvel, but to drive the woke out of Star Wars. The purpose was to prove to the board that woke could not be profitable by fixing Star Wars and letting Marvel continue to decline." Unquote. In essence, the plan was to basically demonstrate to the board that get woke, go broke is a real thing. Now, according to my Hollywood spies, Chapek wanted another ally on the board to help implement this and influence the direction of the board. And thus he was trying to help Nelson Peltz get a seat. To quote my spies, quote, "The CFO found out from a board member who wanted Bob Iger back that Bob Chapek knew about FTX and was going to use it to force a vote starting that Monday. She had no choice but to pull the trigger and out Bob Chapek before this could happen." Unquote.
Now hold on just a minute, Doomcock. What are you talking about? How does FTX come into this?
My friend Cameron Pashaw has been speculating for months that the collapse of the cryptocurrency trading company FTX was connected to Chapek's sudden and hasty departure. Apparently, Disney was substantially invested in crypto, and when it collapsed, it left a huge gaping hole in their balance sheets. Not only that, but apparently there was some kind of shady shit associated with the crypto thing that could have, I'm told, significant legal repercussions for those involved. So if Chapek had tumbled to it and was going to bring it to a head with a board meeting, that was a massive red alert, all hands on deck situation. The source in question here seems to be suggesting that one of Chapek's aims in this meeting was to force a vote on Nelson Peltz getting a seat on the board and start aggressively reshaping the company. As my Hollywood spies put it, quote, "Now the members of the board that were sympathetic to Peltz were scared to side with him in fear of Bob Iger and Blackrock. Word has it Blackrock plans to cover Disney's loss. We've been told it's north of $3 billion. Personal note, we believe this is very accurate. Maybe not the whole story, but a good chunk of it." Unquote.
Holy crap, Doomcock! It always seemed really weird to me how quickly and without notice they shoved poor Bob Chapek out the airlock only a short time after renewing his contract. It had to be something hugely catastrophic to get them to move that swiftly and brutally.
I agree, Harvey Cthulhu. Now, bear in mind, all of this is rumor, but it does seem to offer up more details about this inexplicable and bizarre change of heart from Disney. To conclude this story, it seems that an uneasy peace has returned to the Magic Kingdom as Nelson Peltz has put a pause on his bid to force his way onto the Disney board, but according to Reuters, it's unlikely this story is over. In their article, Disney Clash with Activist Peltz will have sequel. Reuters writes, quote, "Activist investor Nelson Peltz often plays a long game. So his truce with Walt Disney last week, after a short bid to get a seat on the media group's board, might seem uncharacteristic. But earlier battles at DuPont and Procter & Gamble suggest that such plot twists aren't out of the ordinary, raising the possibility that Peltz may still get what he asked for. Disney chief executive Bob Iger unveiled $5.5 billion of cost cuts last week when the $200 billion theme parks to streaming company released fourth quarter earnings. On the face of it, that was enough to get Peltz, who had complained about Disney's over-the-top compensation practices and lack of overall cost discipline, to call off the dogs. The proxy fight is over, a spokesperson for his outfit Trian Fund Management told Reuters. Disney said it appreciated the decision. Could Peltz still end up on the Disney board? It's not out of the question. His battle with the Magic Kingdom would have been an early test of a new voting arrangement for U.S. companies whereby activists and nominees for board seats can appear on the same voting card as the company's own choices. Previously, shareholders had to pick between one slate or another. Disney is still a tough fortress to storm because of its disparate shareholder base and much-loved all-American brand, but if it turns out that the universal proxy hands successes to activists in other firms this season, it may give Peltz an opportunity to revive his boardroom quest later." Unquote. So there you have it, my friends. An uneasy peace has settled in now that Peltz has gotten part of what he wanted and announced a truce. But he's been down this road before, making strategic retreats at P&G and DuPont, and then later asserting himself to secure a victory. Disney is in dire straits, my friends, and they cannot stay on this woke road much longer. Hopefully Peltz or someone like him will come forward and force some changes, and sanity may finally return. From the center of the earth, this is Dictor Van Doomcock bidding you all, my friends, stay angry. Ha 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 ha